Hello there everyone. First things first, is my audio okay? Quick question for anyone watching at the moment. The reason I ask is I used this microphone recently and someone said the audio was terrible. So if I could ask someone to jump into the chat there and please tell me if my audio is okay. Okay, good. That's good to know. I brought a spare microphone in case, but I'm very pleased to hear that this is going well. So, hello, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankers Creations. Thank you very much for joining me today. Unusual time for me to be live streaming. I don't normally do it. It is Monday here, Sunday in the Western Hemisphere. But I didn't get a chance to live stream during the weekend. I was too busy on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we did that wacky live stream with the MacCat guys where we gave some Mac Pros a little bit of love. But I really did want to get some live streaming done today. So I thought, well, my Monday's not super busy, so I'll carry it over today. So, hello to Joe from Joe's Computer Museum. Hello to Jack68K. Hello to Sam Perner from Birmingham, Alabama. Hello there. Patrick Pitts, hello. DJ Craze. Michael's Workshop. There we go. So, yeah, it's a little bit late on the eastern seaboard. I know that. Maybe people on the west coast of the US might be a little bit better off at this time. But yeah, it is what it is. I would have liked it to have been earlier. I had planned it to be earlier. I got up this morning, sat at my computer, and up came a little notification that I had a meeting at 11:30. It was a meeting with my biggest client, so it was a fairly important thing. So I do like to drop everything for them if I can. And then that meeting got pushed back to 11:45, and then at 11:45 I jumped on there with my little Teams thingy, and no meeting got started. And then eventually I got an email saying, "Can we do it at 2?" So that's why I'm starting so late. Excuse me. So now that is not a cursor. All right, there we go. Starbuck Tech is here. Hello there. Thomas Armstrong, Carthor, Sadmac 356. I'm used to it. I watch Paul Daniels. Yes, I watch him sometimes too. Hello, the House of Moth Jay's here. I would have thought he would be asleep by now, because Jay has to be kind of like normal times, be like a reputable person, because he's working a normal day these days. It's like wacky. I don't know. The world just doesn't seem right with those sorts of arrangements. Okay, Max is here. Hello, Max. Now, couple of things. So Max, just very quickly, I'll just mention to you, I still haven't managed to get your 2SI working. I have tried lots of different things. I'm almost certain there is a damaged trace floating around somewhere from one of the ROM lines. I need to get in there and beep, 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 beep. So anyhow, that's joy. I had a very interesting thing happen yesterday. Let me make sure I get the name right. I don't want to say the wrong name here. So just bear with me for a moment, please. Pretty please. Right, so look here. David Merton. So I don't think David is actually watching, but I still want to give him a big shout out. So he contacted me through Facebook. So here was a really interesting thing that ended up happening. Someone jumped onto one of the Australian Vintage Computer Collector forums and said, I have a Mac that I need to get recapped. Can anyone recommend anyone? And someone jumped on and said, oh, Bruce is your guy. So I contacted him. I said, yeah, look, I can do it for you. I said, look, I'm pretty loaded up at the moment, but I can definitely do it. It was a Mac Classic, so, it's the bread and butter type stuff. And then all of a sudden, all these other people started popping up. Oh, I've got a whole stack of Macs that need recapping, and so have I, and all this. And so all these people then started contacting me. And the next thing you know, I've got 2 huge boxes up in the house full of boards to be recapped, which is not really what I had planned, but at least they're just boards and not the whole computers. Anyhow, David turned up and he said, look, I picked up a big job lot of computers. A lot of them don't work. Would you like to have them? And obviously, depending on what you get out of them, that can be reflected on the price of the recapping. So, I said, look, if you want them for spare parts or whatever, I was like, yeah, no, that sounds great, thank you. So anyhow, he turned up with an LC, an LC2, an LC3, and a 2SI. and another 2SI, and an LC3 logic board, and fan and power supply. So you turn up with those bits. Now, one of the 2CIs is absolutely battery bomb, gone, see you later, how's it going, no chance. The other 2SI actually looks really, really good. I mean, it doesn't work. Again, none of these work, which is why I got them. But it actually looks pretty good. So I suspect probably a recap of the power supply and the logic board, probably get it back to life. We'll see what happens. Might be able to work something out with you, Max, so that you do get a 2SI that works. But anyhow, that's another story. So anyhow, I figured I'd probably have a look at one of these today, and we'll just see if we can get it working. To start off with, I just need to, sorry about the sun. As I mentioned before, this is one of my other live streams. It's winter, and when it's winter, the sun's very low in the sky, and I'm facing north. So the sun just comes in here and shines on my face. And I don't have any sort of curtains or blinds over these windows, so there's naught I can do about it. But what you can do is
smash that like button.
If you haven't already, thank you very much. So, now, I've got, one of my cameras isn't working. Let's see which one it is. I think it's the microscope. Let's see if we can get that rectified now without too much ado. There we go. Pop that there. Zoom him off. It is just one of the issues with this microscope camera. They're very, very flaky. I don't know if it's a USB or the camera itself or whatever, but they're just a bit on the flaky side. So, still not working. Still not working. No, it's definitely not seeing it. So we're going to try something else. We're going to disconnect it from the power and plug it in again. That sometimes works. How cold is it there? Not too bad at the moment. It's about 18 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that it is in Fahrenheit, but it's pretty mild. Look, we had a really, really cold snap at the beginning of winter. There was a week or two where it was really cold, but it's actually now it's a lot milder, so quite pleasant. Wizard Repairs, hey, Alien movie T-shirt, that's the one. I love my Alien, I do. Away from that faulty iMac G3. Oh, okay. Haven't been able to fix it. Interesting thing. So, this is Max was talking about this, a G3 iMac. We're having problems with it because I've got a G3 iMac that's the same, and I want to actually just be rid of it, to be honest. But we're looking into, sort of Max is checking out sort of the different capacitors. Now, one thing I just wanted to mention is I ordered off Amazon the other day, an LCR meter, and I'll be going over that a little bit further later on. Now, hello, chicken. How you doing? Do you want to come up and say hello to the peeps? Is that cool? This one's been following me around a lot, so hello. So it's a black one. It's an Australorp. Well, actually, it's an Australorp cross with another breed. So anyhow, the LCR meter, for people who don't know what an LCR meter is, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because I just simply don't know. The EEV blog, go and check out David Jones' stuff on the LCR meters if you want more technical information about them. But essentially what they allow you to do is, first of all, they allow you to test inductors. Now, anyone who's ever tried to test an inductor with a multimeter knows it's a pretty, useless process. You basically stick the thing on if you're using resistance or something, and it just comes up and shows continuity. But this will actually allow you to measure inductors, but it will also allow you to measure capacitors in circuit. And unlike an ESR meter that simply gives you an equivalent series resistance reading, this will actually tell you what the capacitance is of the capacitor in circuit. So and it does it with setting down frequencies. So anyhow, I have ordered one. We'll see what it's like. It's not a dirt cheap one, but it's not a super expensive one either. It's a little bit middle of the road. It's Chinese stuff. We'll just see what happens. Okay. I didn't get the DE5000. You know, I would have got the DE5000 if Amazon had a seller that shipped them to Australia, and they don't. So here's the thing, I've mentioned this before, I have affiliate links in the description. There's all the equipment that I use, and it'll link you to where you can buy them on Amazon. And I get a small kickback from that. And Amazon pay me with gift cards. So I don't actually get like a cash transfer or anything like that. Some of the other ones I just get money put into my PayPal account. But with them, for Australians, there might be now, but certainly when I set it up, there's no option for money to be transferred to an Australian account or anything like that. So when I get those payments for the affiliate links, I get a gift card, and each month I get a gift card of a certain amount, and then I use that to invest back into the channel. I usually use it for buying solder or buying flux or buying whatever, you know, bits and pieces to do with the YouTube channel. And with the last one that came in, it was a decent sized one because of the ultrasonic cleaner video I did. And so I thought, yep, time to get an ESR meter. But because it limits me to Amazon.com, I have to go with whatever they have available. And although the DE5000 was available, it was not available to be sent to Australia. So I got a different sort. We'll wait and see. So upwards of 30 degrees C and not fun. That, for me, that is the temperature I love. I love anything above 30 degrees C. That makes me a happy, happy person. But unfortunately, it is winter here, and we missed summer altogether last year. Just didn't have it. No summer, thanks to La Nina. So anyhow, let us continue. Now, I was working on a MacBook Pro. I'm just going to do a top view here for a moment. I might zoom out a little bit. That's a bit close. Out. Oop, that's the other way. Out. Out. There we go. I was working on a 17-inch MacBook Pro. I think I worked on some of this during the live stream. I had to replace the connector, and I had to replace the connector cable, and that got us all working. Yes, I definitely did live stream that. I remember getting it working. So that's all good. It needed a new keyboard. I replaced the keyboard last night, put it all in, fired it up. Trackpad doesn't work. So this laptop clearly took a drink, and it wiped out the laptop and the keyboard. So I've ordered a trackpad, the new keyboard in there, ordered a trackpad, have to wait for it to arrive, and then that one can be repaired. But at the moment, that one is just taking up space on my desk. Now, the next thing, I was working on a Mac Classic. So let's bring this up here. Now, this has come from one of my regulars, and this was a really interesting one, and I did a live stream on this one as well on the 10th of April. For anyone playing at home, let's just see if the side view camera works here. Oh, it does. It's pointing a little bit downwards, but never mind. So here is the Macintosh Classic belonging to the customer. And the really interesting thing that happened with this, he said he was getting artifacts on the screen. You know, it wasn't working. So anyhow, I grabbed the board, connected it up. I got the artifacts on the screen. No worries. Okay. Thought, might be the ROM. Whip off the ROM, put a new ROM in, fired it up, worked beautifully. Okay. Simple solution. Problem ROMs. Ba-bow. Rudy, hello, welcome. Adam McGee, hello there and welcome. My first thought is, okay, we've got a problem with the ROMs. Anyhow, I started doing a little bit of work on it the other day. I had to recap the analog board, which has now been done. And I started getting weird things going with the computer. It wouldn't start up and all sorts of weird things going on. So then I did a little bit of investigating, and it turns out that there was actually a chip with a poor contact on one of the legs. I'm just going to grab the board now because it's just been cleaned and dried. And this is it here. Here's the board. Let me look at it that way. And this chip here, which is the VIA chip, that VIA chip had some slightly suspect little joins down here on the edge, probably corroded from these capacitors leaking. So I whipped this, actually I don't think I even took it off. I think I just cleaned up all the joints around the outside, just added some flux and some solder and cleaned them all up. And that seemed to do it. That seemed to fix it up. So then the next thing was the floppy drive, trying to sort out the floppy drive, putting a new eject cog in there. For people who aren't aware, the eject cog that goes soft plastic. And so, yeah, did that. And had nothing but problems with it. You would not believe how much time I spent on this floppy drive yesterday trying to get it to eject friggin' discs. Absolute nightmare. And one thing that I have concluded is no matter which replacement eject cog I use, certainly from all the ones I have, and I have some good quality ones, the motor is not as efficient or effective with the new cog than it is with the old cog. And I was able to do a straight flat out test with that because the old cog is actually still in one piece. That's it there. You can actually see there's the cogaroonie and it hasn't broken yet. But of course they are very brittle and it wouldn't take me much to break this if I wanted to, but hasn't broken yet. I put this cog in, ejects fine. I put one of the replacement cogs in, and the eject just gets almost there and then stops. So there is clearly, with some of these replicas, and I've got a few different types, there is an effect there. And of course they rattle a lot more too when you put them in. So they're obviously just not as tight and they're not getting as much efficiency there in the ejectoroonies. So now, hello everyone, is the stream over? Which one? So I hope not. I think I'm still going. So anyhow, this is So this is now the computer in here. It's got a 1 megabyte expansion. It's only got 1 meg in. This is a really interesting one. This is lifetime memory expansion for the Macintosh Classic. That's the 1 megabyte there, and then allows you to stick additional ones in there. What's really interesting about this isn't the standard push and click. With these, you actually it's like a slot. It's like you're putting in like a PCI slot or whatever. You actually slot the RAMs in and push them downwards rather than doing that push and turn, which is interesting. I've never seen that before, but there it is. Okay, so we're going to just fire this up. I just want to check and see that the computer still works after cleaning, because you never know. Let's get some power. And the next thing I'm going to be working on is an interesting one. Well, it might be a boring one, but it's interesting to me. That's not really. I don't want to talk it up too much. Right, let's get a keyboard. Actually, I probably don't even need a keyboard, because all I want to do is test the eject still works. And I can test the eject works just by putting a disk in there when it's thinking about booting. Now. Anyone ever seen this before? I have. And that means I've still got work to do on the analog board, unfortunately. So see, there's wobbling at the moment. And then you'll find that as this heats up, that wobbling will go away. So what that is telling me is that this analog board still has some problems. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of work in there. But this didn't do this to me at all yesterday. So I basically whipped the board out. I replaced the caps, put it back in, and it all worked fine. But now it's a little bit colder. It's had a chance to sit there and cool down. And we've now got a wobble. You probably can't see it. Let me just see if I can make it visible. Can you see the wobble? It's quite pronounced. As I say, it wasn't there at all yesterday. This thing was absolutely smooth as yesterday. So anyhow, let's pop a disc into it and at least see if we can eject. Yay! Okay, that I'm content with. That works. So, what I have to do now, and actually the wobbling is fading away now. It's getting more and more stable as time goes. So we're clearly talking about something that is heating up, whether that be a capacitor or whether it be a, what do you call those things, like a crack solder joint or something. But this board's definitely going to need some further inspection. So yeah, I'm not free of this classic yet. Pain in the butt. emblem. What's an emblem? Am I supposed to know what an emblem is? Oh. Okay, now, next thing I'm going to put on the table here is an interesting one. And by interesting, I mean unusual. I don't necessarily mean, strictly speaking, interesting. It's just not what I would normally be working on. I'm about to have a look at the guts of an oven, as in a consumer item in the kitchen. My wobbles after a complete recap and reflow of every solder joint annoying. Yep, okay. So anyhow, I'm going to fiddle around with a few things. We'll see how we go. But the worst problem about it is I have to wait for it to cool down in order to test it, because it doesn't do it when it's warm. All right, so what we have here, this should just be a relatively quick exercise, and then we'll move on to a Macintosh LC3. But this is something I need to do because this oven belongs to my mother. Now these are the guts for the oven here. So if we have a look at it, this is the control panel, and it appears like that. That's how it appears on the oven. It's a Miele or something. I can't remember. I can't remember the brand, but anyhow. So this is your little control panel here, and these are your controls for the oven there. And then this here is actually a physical switching, clicky, switchy. And if we have a look at the back, you'll see we have this little guy here. It's like a little cam running down the middle, and that cam operates the switches as to what's supposed to go on and what's off and on. So if you're doing it as the grill, or you're doing it as the full oven, or whatever the case may be, it's actually doing it with a physical switch from this little cam shaft running down here. So now what happened with this is I've actually worked on this oven before and repaired it, and it was working beautifully. What happened was one of the globes went out. Oops. Oh, I just rolled over a floppy disk. He will never be the same again. I'm not going to pick that up. It's too far down. I'll make funny groaning noises as I go to pick it up. So what happened with this, oven was working fine. Globe went out. One of the globes inside the oven went out. My mother went to go remove it, and in the process managed to break the glass. Now she then, not really thinking logically, went and grabbed a pair of pliers to try and remove the globe. But the thing is that it was still on. Even though it may not have looked on, the oven was still on. And so what she did, she managed to short those two wires together. And now it doesn't work properly. So I have, as I say, looked at this before. And I'm going to whip out this board here. This is where I believe the problem is going to be. So we'll take him out, and I just have to remember how to do that. I have to unplug this to start off with. You taught me how to repair dislocated pads on a PCB using enameled copper wire, and I've used that trick more times than I can remember. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for saying that. You are most welcome for that, and I'm so glad that knowledge is being shared and used and all that sort of stuff. That's the whole idea. I mean, that's the whole purpose of my channel. Share the knowledge. And I'm so pleased to hear that you've done it. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And this is something that I've found with doing repairs, is that my kind of like perception of what is repairable and not repairable is very different today than it was, say, I don't know, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would look at things and say, okay, I can repair that. And I would look at, say, a damaged PCB and I'd go, no, that's gone. There's nothing I can do about it now. And then you learn these skills, and then all of a sudden that perception of what's repairable is completely different. And I love that. So anyhow, I do like to repair white goods wherever I can, because I am someone who likes to keep things going as long as possible. As an example, I'm going to have to remove these. What? Are you going to... I can't remember. Is this coming? No, he just comes out. I have repaired my dishwasher. I have repaired my oven. What else? They're probably the main ones. And the great thing about them is you just keep these things going. I mean, with the dishwasher, that was a funny one, because the guy, a repair guy, came out and looked at it, and he said, not worth fixing. He said, I think he quoted $1,500 or something for new parts, not worth fixing. And I repaired it. And it cost me labour, essentially. I didn't even need spare parts for it. No worry, Joe. There's bendy bars. Okay, just having a look here. So 80s and just had big bendy bars that turn red. Yes, well, I think they all essentially do have big bendy bars. I think a lot of ovens do have the big bendy bars. Halogen bulbs and something, wow. Yeah, mine doesn't. Mine just has bendy bars. Mine just has standard heating elements. And I believe this one has the same. Now, let's see if we can have a look here. We've got the light. Wow. Me thinks we've found the problem. Yeah. Let's get a little bit of a zoom on that. It's amazing how sometimes repairs just clearly show you where they are. So that's it. Yeah. All right. So let's just have a quick look at here. What we have here are a couple of relays. Okay. So these are. Oh God, that is really bad. These. So you have the controller here, and obviously the purpose of a relay is to allow you to switch off and on high voltages. So, yeah, basically you have something like this, which is a computerized controller, and it has little switches in them, and those little switches going off and on. So it's saying, I want the oven to turn on, so it'll have a little switch say, switch the oven on. But the problem is that you can't run the sort of voltages required for the oven to come on. You know, it's a high power thing like that. You can't run them through this delicate circuitry. So that's where you use a relay. You use a relay so that the low voltage tells the relay it's time to switch closed, and then the relay switches closed the high voltage. So it's actually kind of like it's a little remote switch, if you will, sort of thing. So I don't think I explained it very well, but I hope it's yeah, it's okay. I hope someone understands. I need to say a quick shout out to is that Ross Drosley, and I'm going to add this. I've got a super sticker. Whoop, what have I done? I can't read that. I think that's it. There we go. A red hand pointing up. It is one of the silly things about this software. I've mentioned this many times before. This doesn't have the ability to actually take the icon, so it gives a text description of what the icon is. So thank you very much for that super sticker of a red hand pointing up. Okay, so all right. So anyhow, this relay is actually lifted off the surface. It's so bad. One of the good things is, having repaired this, I'm pretty sure I still have one of these relays floating around. I'll have to hunt it down. But I would also be concerned about some of these diodes, whether they might have died as well. So we'll check that out. I will get rid of this. Where is that actually? Where's the... I just need to have a look at this under the microscope for a second. So let's just change to the scope view. And I just want to see. Man, that is toasty. So that has completely burned away. So what's happened here is the copper has worked as a fuse ultimately, and it has just completely burned through. So there is some copper there, and there is some copper there. And essentially everything in between has burned away, crisped away. Oh, hello, mouse. Can you be a bit more discreet? Yeah, and that one's still good. So that's crispy. See you, Rudy. Thanks for joining. Okay, well, that is a very, very clear fault. We know exactly what we're dealing with here. I am going to assume that this relay is still cactus, but we will test it. Maybe the relay is still good, I'd probably replace it anyway. And in order for us to check that, we can just, what is this? I assume it's a 12 volt, 6 volt relay. So I will get my, power supply, and we will just pop that out of the way here. Okay. So, several strands of Ethernet cable to stand up to the abuse in the future. Yeah, now what I will probably end up using for this is, where is the thing? Are you here? There we are. Nope, that's not it. I've got a couple of, this is enameled wire. I've got this one here. This stuff is huge. That's really thick. I could potentially use that. That's enameled. I do actually have some wire floating around somewhere that isn't enameled. But if worst comes to the worst, I can just use this. This is a nice thick copper cord wire. I think it's copper. There's this wire. Yep. I'm pretty sure. Just get a, what do you, scalpel. There it is. Scalpel. I'm not even sure this is enameled. This might just be copper wire, you know. Easiest way to find out is to try and solder to it. Yeah, that just looks like copper wire to me. That's a thick wire. Damn, that's a thick wire. Okay. If you dump 240 volt into it, probably stops working. Probably. I should just mention that the oven does still work. Try to get some heat here. It just doesn't work properly. Timer still comes on, something still come on, but it's not working properly here. This is enameled. It is enameled, definitely. Because that took me a while to burn that enamel off. But yeah, okay. I may or may not use that. We'll see. Ow, it's still hot. I'll just make a decision at some stage. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just check and see if this relay still works. But I'm going to get rid of it anyway. But so I've got. I think it's that one and that one. That one to that one. That one to that one. Sorry, just looking. There to there. I'm not 100% certain. Let's just throw some volts at it, shall we? So what we'll be looking out for is just like a clicking sound. Maybe not. Just make sure we've got power here. Yep, we've got power. No, nothing's happening. I would have thought it would, but it's not. Unless I'm around the other way. That one there. I think I'm going ass about face. That's why. So it's down here. Can you hear that? Relay still works. And that one, and was it that one and that one? No. Okay. Both relays are still working. I still think I will replace the one that is, you know, sort of, that's really sort of got this really bad burning, which is this one on the right here. But both relays do appear to be working. So that's kind of nice. So anyhow, we'll whip this one off. And I am going to probably just test these diodes as well. I've got a sneaking suspicion that this has just taken the brunt of it. And we might be all right. Coil works, but I wonder if it's still closing the contact. Yeah. That would involve me attaching things and multimeters and stuff. And given that I'm going to replace it anyway. Steve is here. Hello, Steve. You're on vacation at the moment, are you not? Is that correct? I could be wrong. That was what we were actually saying. That's the excuse we gave for you not being in the live stream the other day. I hope it's all going well and you are enjoying yourself. Okay. Having an after-dinner watch, perfect timing. Thank you for streaming, no problem. And smash that like button. Oh, that was a nice plasticky smell. Gotta love it. Hey, I just feel like I disconnected the wrong thing there. I have. It's... So this I had to do this before because this also blew up. Now last time it blew up because of something else. This time it was human error. The time before it wasn't human error. It was actually mechanical failure. But you can see that I've done this big build up here of a piece of wire. Have I done the right thing? Out you come. There we go. So, here is our little relay. And we've got the instructions here. So, common. Okay. So, in theory, if I understand this correctly, if I do 3 to 1, it will click. It will click. It will go clickety click. Let's just try that out. Or not. What do you make that of me? What have I done? It's working. Maybe it is shot. Maybe I was hearing the other one click. Oh no. Okay, it helps if you can actually read a schematic here. Okay, so if we're going to close that, and then I'm going to get a multimeter, and we will test whether we're getting continuity with that closed. Isn't this fun? Don't answer that. Okay. Okay. Well, we are definitely getting continuity. Yep. Okay. So it might be fine. If I didn't have a spare, I don't think I would replace it. But I think under the circumstances where I do have a spare, I probably should just replace it. And the only other thing I want to check is I want to check these diodulars here, these little Zenas, and see whether these are still diodorizing. So I'm going to put my little thingy in diode mode, and I'm going to test, because diodes have a tendency to be one of the things in the firing line. They can often be one of the first things that gets deaded. So I'll put that there, Oh, that was the thing I desoldered that I shouldn't have. And that is open. And let's go the other way. And that is open as well. Which suggests to me that that might be deaded. Unless I'm not making proper contact. And that's always possible. It helps if you cook the right colour around here. Macintosh oven, yes. I am repairing an oven. Not for much longer. Okay, so that one I'm getting a voltage drop of 0.73, which is fine. And this way, I think there's some weirdness going on with capacitors here. I'm getting weird results. Might have to take that out to measure it. That is open. And that is, that's open as well. I might have to take these out and test them out of circuit, but I've got I'm pretty sure this one here is gone. This little guy here is gone. So let me just solder this capacitor back on that I just desoldered by accident. And we will then consider this one. We've done enough. Bored with this. It's not a Macintosh. Time to look at a Macintosh. Right. Okay, so he goes somewhere around there, and he goes somewhere around here. I took all photos of these. I took lots and lots and lots of photos of this before I pulled it apart, so that when I put it back together, all the plugs go in the right place. Diode is diode. Okay, all right. So, my general feeling is that, okay, so I'm going to need to replace that diode. Let me just have a look here. Going to that one. That's going to that one there. So that diode connect to those two, so that's there and there. Yeah, okay. That one is definitely connected to that relay. Of course, one of the downsides to this is that I'm going to have to repair that bit of copper, and I'm going to use a great big piece of copper. And of course, the great big piece of copper that I'm going to use won't fail as easily as the trace did. So if this happens again, it's likely to get cooked even further. It's likely to get dead. All right. Okay, so let's jump back here to, let's try the top view. And let's have a look at what we have here. I'm trying to develop a new system here whereby I put my tools away. I'm having limited success. Let's just say that. I wouldn't call it a complete failure. There have been a few things that I've put away and been able to find much easier than I could before. So that's kind of good. Oh, here's an interesting one. This was sent to me by a customer who contacted me on Tinker Different. And this is a Sonnet Technologies thing for an SE30. So it's a CPU expansion. I don't know what speed it is, but I'm guessing it's got a heatsink on the top here. So I can't really see what the writing is on the CPU, but I'm going to guess it's probably taking it up to what, 30 something? I don't know. What's the SE30 CPU speed? 16, isn't it? Allegro. Thank you, Steve. I knew Steve would know. Could you place an actual fuse there? I could. I've got no idea what amperage to put there. I guess maybe a 2 amp, something like that. That'd probably be, that would still fail faster than, as long as there's room for it. But a 2 amp fuse would still fail faster than a great big piece of wire. Maybe I do that. Maybe you're a genius. Maybe I pull apart a fuse and just get the little strip from inside and solder that on. I wonder if it's even possible. Why am I asking you? I don't know. So this is a Sonnet Allegro for an SE30. It would have boosted the CPU, I guess. Okay, it's 33. So this could well be 33 as well. Now, essentially what happened was the customer snapped a couple of pins on these little pins here. These guys snapped a couple. Now, I wasn't really sure how I was going to repair it or if I would be able to repair it. And so my first thought was I'll stick this on the heated bed that allows me to heat the board up so they can then pull the socket off. And once I've got the socket off, I can then make an assessment of what I want to do. Now, things did not go to plan because the plastic of the socket melted before the solder did. Now, you might say, well, of course it did. Plastic's going to melt before solder, but a lot of these later connectors and sockets were far more heat resistant, but this is an older one. And now this isn't what happened on the heat bed, but this is what happened eventually. So this is what the socket looks like now. I don't know. You could probably have a guest spot in Hellraiser. I don't know. It's not quite what it was. So anyhow, that's very unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. I just could not fathom a way of getting these individual pins out and sorted. So what I ended up doing, because they are the same pitch, I ended up using headers to build all new pins, rows of pins. Now these pins are a little bit thicker than the original pins, so it means that it's quite a job to push it in, but it does go in. The only thing is I haven't been able to test it because I don't have a socketed SE30 here. The SE30 I have is one of the ones that's soldered onto the board. So, but having said that, one of my customers dropped one in for recapping yesterday, so I'll be able to test this on that SE30 board. So, yeah, so anyhow, this is it. So what I basically used were whole bunch of these. So I used some single row ones and I used some double row ones. I used the double row ones for a little bit more strength. So where I could use double row ones, I did, and where I had to use single, I used single, and just tried to swap and change them around. Then basically got them all into position just with a little bit of solder, and then I actually pushed it into a socket. Now I know I just told you that I don't have an SE30 with a socket, but I do have a Macintosh 2 with a socket. So I used that socket, not for testing, but for soldering. So once I got them in, more or less in, I then pushed it down into the socket to hold them all in position, and then soldered the tops. Blah, 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 blah. And then I was able to lift it out, and that has all of these pins in the perfect position for where they should be for sitting in the socket. Now, as I say, has not been tested. Apparently there were some problems with it initially anyway, so who knows, it may not work at all. But at least I can now test it. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens. But anyhow, I just thought I'd mention that because it's, you know, it looks pretty, apart from everything else. All those new pins. It's been ultrasonically cleaned because I made a bit of a mess of it. Get out. A bit of fluff. You have no place in there. Right, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to have a look at this. Oh, heavy, 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 heavy. AAP Communication Services. Deep, deep, deep. In the event of service difficulties, please call. Okay, so what we have here is a Macintosh LC3. Now, I'm going to refer to this as slightly elusive, and the reason why I say that is because I recap a lot of LCs, but typically I recap LC1s, LC2s, and LC475s, which is also known as the Quadra 605. I don't get many LC3s, really only a handful. If we're talking about in terms of the percentages, it's quite small. So I'm actually quite pleased with this one. This one does have busted, but that's okay. I've got a few spare lids, so should be fine. See there. Snapped. Snapped. So anyhow, this is an LC3. The LC3 apparently does not work. But of course it has capacitors that need replacing, and my hope is that I'll be able to make it work. Power supply could be shot as well, but we'll see. So anyhow, I was very, very happy with this. I do have an LC3 logic board. I've never had an LC3 case. But the logic board doesn't work. And I haven't, because it's mine, I haven't really had a chance to go in and invest a huge amount of time in diagnosing it. When it comes to diagnostics and stuff like that, my stuff tends to go right to the bottom of the pile. But it's even got a RAM sim in it. How about that? Yeah, it's nice. And this one, okay, 25 megahertz CPU, and of course it has the socket on here. It's one of the really easy ways of telling the LC3 apart from the other ones. First of all, the LC475 you can always tell because it's got a great big square ceramic 68040 CPU on it. The LC3 has the 68030, which look like this, and it has a socket for an FPU. Now, of course, you can put a socket on an LC2, but they didn't come like that from the factory. So if you see a socket on there, chances are you're looking at LC3. The other way to tell is, of course, they use different RAM. LC2 uses 30-pin RAM. This uses the next one up, whatever it is, 72, something like that. I can't remember. More pins, 68. More pins? More pins. All right, now, the worst thing about these is they're held in by tension from plastic. And the LC3, I'm pretty sure, is the one that made it into the brittle plastic. LC2's pretty strong. LC475's not. I think the LC3 fell into the brittle plastic, but we'll see. Because there's no other way of getting this out. You've got to bend these little plastic things here. You've got to bend them apart. That's as simple as that. Hey, we got it. Okay. Lift this up. Keep going. I'm going to have to take this fan out, aren't I? It's not going to let me go any further with the fan in place. Now we can get it out. Right. So. I have to confess, I'm really looking forward to having an LC3. Assuming I can fix this. And the fact that this, I mean, this came in a pile of not working computers, and they could have been not working for a long time. It may not just be a recapping, but I'm hopeful. Is the LC3 a 68030? Yes, it is indeed. It is running at 25 megahertz 68030 there. And of course, it has our familiar PDS slot here. One of the fantastic things about that is there are so many different cards that came for the LC PDS slot. You can get ones that go from LC PDS to a new bus. You can get ones that go. You can get the Apple IIe card that goes in there. Countless network cards. I mean, there was a guy selling network cards, LC PDS network cards online, and he had a whole bunch of them. And I just bought a stack. I just thought, I'm going to acquire I'm going to keep acquiring LC3s. We know that's going to happen. That's inevitable. So, yeah, may as well just buy it. So, now one thing I have to do with these early on. This is really important. B-R-A-N-Ch-A-S. It's my little label printer. Out comes the label. So it doesn't get confused with customer boards. It's really, really important for me to do that. I cannot begin to tell you. Okay, so. Oh, Charlie's here. Hello, Charlie. I still haven't sent your boards to you. Sorry, Charlie. They're sitting on my my living room table, all bundled up, and I've just got to stick them in a box. And I intend to do that today. Anyone that knows me knows that when I say I'm going to do something this weekend, it generally means I'm going to do it next weekend. It's not what I plan to do. It's just the way life tends to happen. Only to give you an example, I put aside all of yesterday, with the exception of the morning live stream that I did with the Macchiac guys. I put aside all of yesterday for repairs. And in that time, I got through 2 computers. Two in a whole day. And of course, I have a full-time job, so I can only do these things on the weekend. So, when I sort of, when I have these intentions of doing things, sometimes they go astray. Okay, so, take off the RAM and take off the battery cover and things and let's get rid of some of these caps and put some new ones on. Right, time for the microscope. We will need our normal heat shields throughout this, because some of these are close to plastics. We'll have a quick little inspection when we're looking. We can definitely see that we've had capacitor leakage here. I mean, the easiest way to tell is you can just, I mean, if you can't already see it with your nude eye, you just get a Q-tip or something like that and you just give it a bit of a wipe and you just see the gunge. The gunge. It's all there. It's all this, see how sort of oily it is? It's this oily, sort of smeary, yucky stuff. But you know what's great about this one? That has not yet turned into corrosion by the looks of it. You can see all the shininess here, and that's probably going to be creating some unwanted, shorts and stuff like that, because it's going to be making, this stuff that's leaked onto the board is actually conductive. But let's see, here it's different. Here it's just fresh, dusty. Just dusty. It's not oily. So, all right, let's get some heat. You want some heat? You want some heat? Let's get some heat. Okay, Charlie asked Bruce how long it takes to get a SCSI to ST for PowerBook. Now, there was an exception to that one, Michael. And that one, I am still very apologetic for that one. That was not good. He paid me and everything. Oh, my goodness. And there was this thing. I had this SCSI PowerBook thingy all packed up. It was all, it was built, it was tested, it was wrapped up in bubble wrap, and it was just sitting on my desk. It's like, who is this for? But because it came through as just a verbal order rather than an online purchase, I had no paper trail other than the conversation that I'd had, I think, in Facebook Messenger or something like that. And I was going through all of my conversations, and of course the search engines on those things are just terrible. And I'm just going through searching for PowerBook, PowerBook, SCSI 2SD. And I just couldn't find any trace of the conversation. It was there, I just couldn't find it. All right, let's whip some caps off. I don't want to melt any plastic. But now, just obviously letting people know, just straight off the bat, with this one here, assuming I can fix it, I am keeping it. I am not selling it or anything like that. Just setting expectations in case anyone was thinking, oh, Bruce is going to recap this and sell it. No, he's not. This is mine. This is being added to my collection. So that I will now have an LC1, LC2, LC3, LC475. I'd love to get a 575, but I don't see that happening at a decent price. I've got a 580 and I've got a 630. But really, when it comes to the pizza boxes, I wanted the set of little pizza boxes, 1, 2, 3, and 475. And this completes the collection. And this will almost definitely, if it works, I mean, the ROMs could be fried for all I know. But if it works, this will probably become my new test machine. How many questions I ask Bruce in a week? Yes, I do get quite a lot of questions from Charlie, I will say. But he gives me free stuff as well, so. Okie dokie. All right, just sort of keeping an eye on things. Just got to make sure I keep up with the chat. Isn't that a good-looking CPU? Look at it. Look at it. And I will, of course, be dropping in an FPU here. There's no point in having an empty socket, especially when FPUs are so darn cheap these days. You don't always get the genuine article. Sometimes you get fakes. I have had that happen to me, but, I've had enough hits to compensate for the misses. This is really going to like an ultrasonic clean. Woo, he popped. He popped. One thing with the old LC3, it is really, really easy. If you're recapping these and if you're using hot air, it is really easy to move, accidentally dislodge these little surface mount resistors here. It's quite uncommon with a lot of these Macs of this vintage to have surface mount resistors or capacitors on this side of the board. Typically, it's all the big components on this side and all of the birdseed on the underside. But this one actually has some birdseed on the top. And so you just got to be careful you don't knock any of those off. Sorry, the microphone clip thingy here is itching. Sorry, probably making terrible noise. Is there a resistor missing by the capacitor? Looking. I don't think so. They're all here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That one there might look like it's not there, but it is a capacitor. And it's there. It's ugly, but it's there. And I think it says S3 or something like that. Okay, I might need a heat shield here as well. I don't want to damage the PDS slot. So the LC2 is 16, I guess. Is that right? So the LC2 is the same megahertz as an SE30. Does that sound about right to folks? And then this one is 25. And then of course the next SE475 we ended up as a 68040 CPU. Oh wow, this one stinks. It's not just the normal fishy smell. There's some other funk going on here as well. That's F-U-N-K. Some funky stuff going on there in terms of smells. Nice and warm. Last week's fish dinner. Yeah, we all know what these caps smell like. Well, maybe we don't all know, but anyone who's had a crack at recapping on their own, yeah, it's you get some funky old smells coming from this electrolyte. Is the LC3 the one where everyone says the cap's backwards? I can't remember if it's the LC3 or the LC2. This is going to be a bit tricky. I might need my tape. I started recapping my LCs after my stroke. I learned from you and Mac84. Now I have several. Excellent. That is great to hear. Not great to hear about the stroke. That's not good at all. But it's great to hear that you've been getting all these things recapped and working. That's fantastic. I hope that your stroke is one that you have been able to recover from. That is a very important thing. And of course, one of the most important things with strokes, for anyone out there, is swift action. If you suspect someone is having a stroke, you need to get the medical attention immediately. Because the faster they can get to it, the better chance there is of recovery. That was hot. I want an LC3 with an Apple III card in it. Are you sure there is an Apple III card? I don't think there is an Apple III card. I could be wrong. There's certainly a 2E card. I actually had someone saying that they were going to send me a broken 2E card, but it never eventuated. Sometimes, I mean, I can't complain. I get lots of freebies and gifts from folks that I'm always incredibly appreciative of. But sometimes those things don't eventuate for whatever reason. Maybe someone decides they want to just keep it themselves, or maybe they suddenly find out that they can get a huge amount for it on eBay, and so they sell it instead. And that's all fine. It's their stuff. Do what they want with. Now, have I mentioned to everyone today, I don't think I have today, that I have a Patreon now? No obligation to anyone to actually join and contribute, but I do have a Patreon. added relatively recently. I wasn't going to have one, but then I decided, you know what? Everyone else does. So I need to do the same. Otherwise, I'll just be left out in the cold. So there is a link in the description if you would like to check out my Patreon and potentially join. I'm using my standby soldering iron tip today because I broke my other one on Friday morning. Came out here and I was doing some work on something and I was pushing something down while applying heat and I just snapped the end off it. And I didn't have a spare. I thought the other one would last me longer. I'd been thinking about buying a spare. I just hadn't bought one. So I'm using my standby tip. This is not a genuine Hacko tip, but it's getting by for the moment. And I have ordered 2 more tips and they're probably actually ready for picking up, but I don't have the car today. Well, I don't at this stage of the day. I'll probably get the car a little bit later. Fluxes, need to talk fluxes. So I am actually just going to be using in this one boring old NC559 ASMTF flux, tacky flux. But the sample 88, which I've had in my live streams before and my other videos, made by Amtech, which is the V3. It is my understanding that they have settled on, completed the formula. They did make some modifications to it based on my feedback, but they have possibly made other modifications to it as well. And I believe that that formula is now complete, and they are now selling the fully fledged NC559 V3TF. I have some on the way to me. I have a small little sample 88, but I actually have a proper finished product V3 tube on its way to me. It was sent to Steve at Mac 84 and Jay from the House of Moth at the same time, but they just use regular mail for mine. And they normally send them on courier, but they just use regular mail by accident. So mine's going to take a lot longer to arrive. But anyhow, that's all good. I can't complain. Seriously, Amtech have just sent me so much stuff. They've just been fantastic. Awesome flux. Awesome flux. Flux for every occasion. So, you know, I just, as I say, I've been so impressed with the way they have handled the whole situation. Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy associated around the Amtech fluxes, and they have been brilliant communicators. They have talked to me. They have listened to me. They have sent me samples to try, all that sort of stuff, and it's been fantastic. So anyhow, I do have a video that I'm working on at the moment, which will be coming out at some stage, where I actually do a series of flux tests. So I've got a whole range of different fluxes. We're going to use them under different circumstances. We're going to use them with leaded solder, with lead-free solder. We're going to be exposing them to a huge amount of heat and seeing what happens to them. We're going to be leaving them on the board overnight and seeing how hard they are to clean off, that sort of stuff. So we're going to put these fluxes through their paces, and then, you know, people can make the decision for themselves which one they prefer. I have certain requirements. There are things I like about the flux I use. They won't be the same as everyone else's. For example, when it comes to cleaning, I clean everything in an ultrasonic cleaner, so I don't care how hard it is to clean off, because it just comes off in the ultrasonic. But if you're someone who doesn't have an ultrasonic and you're cleaning things with a toothbrush and a bit of iso alcohol, you're going to want that to come off a lot easier. So anyhow, all of that will be revealed. Let's get this board looking a little bit nicer than it does. And we want to get these pads all looking brand new. We want to get all the solder off, and we want to make sure that they are nice, squeaky, clean, sharp little rectangles. We don't want them to have little black spots on them, or these are cleaning up beautifully. Once again, this is a board that is here before corrosion got really bad, so these pads barely need cleaning at all. I could probably just could have taken the solder off them, but you know. Fume extractor. There's a link to the fume extractor I use in the description. It's you know, a little bit more expensive than some of the basic ones that are just like a fan with a filter sitting in front of them. This one has this articulated neck tubey type thing that I can point at things. But having said that this one is more expensive, it's still ridiculously cheap in comparison to the top of the line ones. And I cannot recommend this one enough. This is a recommendation from Jay from the House of Moth. He got one of these first. I couldn't believe how cheap they were for what they were. And I have just been so happy with this one. I really have. The day they produce one that's completely silent, I'll be happier. But I think we're dealing with a few kind of laws of physics that may stop that from happening. He was kidding. LC3, Apple 3. I thought it was probably a joke, but I didn't know enough to be able to say definitely. Right, okay. You still need... I still need an LC3 Plus. See, I don't think the LC3 Plus even got sold out here, so I could have a bit of trouble getting one of those. I assume, I could be wrong, but if I just dropped a 33 megahertz CPU on this and moved a few resistors around, I could probably turn this into an LC3 Plus. I'm sure there are steps for that on low-end Mac or something. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me I'm no good. Do you use the HEPA filter in that fume extractor? There is a filter in there, and I don't know if it's a HEPA filter. It is a filter. It's one of these carbon filtery type things. And yes, I use the filter in there. I hate to think what it would look like now. It's actually really hard for me to get it out because it's stuck to the underside of the table. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it's not that hard. I need to check. I need to get under there and have a look. So essentially, I use the filter in there. It is probably clogged up with a year or two's worth of dust now, but it's still doing its job. It was my intention to set this up so that it actually blew the exhaust outside, but the hose isn't long enough for that. It's almost long enough, but it's not quite. They do have extenders, but they just, well, I shouldn't say they do have extenders. They used to sell extenders, but they haven't been available to purchase in, I don't know how long. Yeah, so I, because I'm very short on desk space here, what I did is I drilled a hole in the desk, just with a, a circular drill thingy, whatever they're called. Keyhole drill? Yeah. Drilled a hole through there, and then I just stuck the base to the underside of the desk using some of that 3M super mega sticky glue, that double-sided tape, that clear stuff, and just stuck it to the underside of the table, and then just ran the hose down the top, and it works beautifully. It's just the hose comes out of the desk, and I just move it to wherever I want. It's been excellent. Simpson, I'll remember that name. Okie dokie. I watched a film the other night called Uncharted with Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland. And it was awful. I mean, no, that's wrong. That's harsh. It wasn't very good. It could have been better. But it wasn't. And I mentioned to my Mac-Yak brethren the other day, the other thing I also did recently was watch, for the first time in my life, the original Top Gun movie. And all I can say is it hasn't stood the test of time very well. And I tell you what, by the end, you are sick to death of Kenny Loggins and Berlin. I mean, to the point it was like, I don't ever want to hear those songs again. Noisy chicken. Something's upset the chicken. Gregory Brady is here. Hello there. Isn't the hose just a bit of flexible duct? It is flexible, but the thing is that the way it's designed, it actually locks into whatever position you put it in. So that's when I refer to it as being articulated. Now, maybe there are some ducts out there that will do that, but the ones that I have found, they basically just bend and they don't lock into that bending shape. So this thing here, it actually, I should probably change views, like top view here. Top view. So they can actually bend it and it stays bent in that position. Yeah, so you can hold it, position it wherever you want. Now maybe you can just buy hose like that, but I haven't found any. So, oh, will you shut up? Something has upset the chickens. Top Gun was better as a 12-year-old. Yeah, I can definitely picture that Top Gun would be fun at a certain age. I can definitely get that. I find that watching it as an adult. Oh, and boy, oh boy, didn't Kelly McGillis go on to do bigger and better things? I come back to find Bruce yelling, "Shut up" at the ceiling. You probably can't hear the chicken, but I sure can. And seriously, she is just non-stop. She is just squawking, 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 squawking. They do eventually tire themselves out, and then they shut up. It's just a question of how long it takes. Just giving it a bit of a rub here to get rid of some of that blackening. And some of the things that can get the chickens set off like that is you can have a bird of prey flies by, or a cat runs across the backyard or something like that, and they just get upset. Right. Oh, one more. One more. I recap so few of these that I'm not particularly familiar with them when I'm working on them. Now, I'm working on an SE. I know where all SE30. I know where all the caps are. Or an LC2, or whatever these more common ones. Color Classic, but the LC3, I do not feel as familiar. Don't search for a picture of Kelly McGillis now. Excuse me just one moment. I'm going to go see if I can find out what's upsetting this chicken and try and shut her up. Because she's just still going. And still going. What? What? Hello? Did you want to come and say hello to the peeps? Here we go. Going to say hello to the peeps very quickly. Oopsie. I haven't set myself a whole lot of space here. Hello. Hello. So this is one of the Australorp cross thingies. There you go. Okay. Right. So I'm just trying to tiptoe through cases, computer cases. I think the one making all the noise was just laid an egg. I think that was what she was going on about. She was just in the coop, standing in the coop, just near at the entrance to the nesting box, just making a lot of noise. Okay. Have I said hello to you, Vintage Hillbilly? I don't think I have. Hello to VHS. And hello to Crun Limited Basson. Hello there. I've never seen a black chicken. Well, there you go. I have 3 black chickens. One of them is huge. That's the one that was making all the noise. She won't let me pick her up. Seriously, she's really hard to get hold of. She's very wary around people. So that one there is a lot easier. So and they can be very docile, Okay, so now we have to put some new caps on this. Now I need to know which cap goes where. How would I know where that is? How would I know? How would I know? Wouldn't it be good if there was some sort of guide? Whoopsie. Let's see if I have it in my collection here. 660 AV, one of my favourite computers. 2SI, kind of like that one too. What's this one? What is this one? 2VI. That's a stupid computer, but I still like them. What else got? Macintosh TV. It's not on my website, but it will be one day. LC630. LC3, there it is. Hello. This guide is terrible. It's one of my early ones. So we have one 100 microfarad 6.3 volt. We have 5 10 microfarad 16 volt and 5 47 16 volt. So there's an unusual sort of collection there, but setting the clock mod for LC3 on Discord. Oh, thank you very much. And thank you to you, Jay, for putting the link up there to Recap a Mac. It is a website which I maintain with recapping guides on there. Main reason why I did it was because I was mainly looking for high resolution images of logic boards, Mac logic boards, and I just couldn't find any. And so I thought, well, you know what? I can't sit here whinging about no one else having done it, and decided to do it myself. And then at the same time put in the location and measurements of the caps as well. So that was really the motivation behind it. Where are my capacitors? I have to put some of these away, I think. They're going to fall down. I was recapping a what do you call those things? An analog board. So you need all the different sizes. Tantalums. You know what I did? I created this label on here and I said SMT Tantalums 1. And then I never got around to labeling the second one. So it's a tease. You know there are two because this one's called 1. But you can't find 1 because there's no 2 because there's no label on it. As the Discord's 2. I don't have Brankus Creations Discord. Patreon, that's the one. Yes, I do have a Patreon. There is a link in the description. There is a link in the description, isn't there? Please tell me there's a link in the description. Please. There's a section down there where I'm sure there's a link in the description. There better be. Someone could check, please, if there is a link in the description for my Patreon. Please. 100 microfarad 6.3 volt goes right here. Chicken's back. Okay, so he goes there. What happened with the 2C? It's there. I haven't got any further. It is my intention to do a live stream at some stage in the not too distant future and get all of my Apple II friends on, people like Adam McGee and people like Joe and all that, and Rudy and all of them, and I'll get the 2C and get their advice of what I can do, because I've got a working 2C, so I can always swap components over to find out what the fault is. Yeah, and just because I really don't know much about them at all. I need to buy a whole stack of RAM chips. You know those 4164 or 4264 or whatever they are, the little RAM chips that are on them. I've had some, but I've just burned through them because they're the chips that always fail on the original Macintoshes, the 128Ks. So people generally send me those 128Ks going, oh, it's got a sad back face, it's not working, can you fix it? And I just replace the RAM. Replace them, put sockets in, of course. I repaired 5 Apple IIcs last week. Well, there you go, Adam. You are definitely going to be my go-to guy when it comes time to looking at it. The other 2C, the one that works, I had a bit of a play with that the other day. And when I say the other day, it was a few weeks ago. Because I now have the little green screen for it on the stand. And it is just such a cute little computer to use with that screen. It just looks awesome. It just makes you want to use it. Okay. This, just for explaining to people the codes on here, if anyone's unfamiliar, I just like to mention information like this every now and again. I don't do it every live stream, but I just like to mention it sometimes. You can see it's a 107 there. A 107 refers to 10 followed by 7 zeros. So that's 8 zeros in total. 1 with 8 zeros after it. And that is the measurement of this capacitor in picofarads. And that actually works out as 100 microfarads. So there you go. Yeah. All right, so next up we have, sorry, I keep scratching this thing. This is itching me like you wouldn't believe, and I'm probably making horrible noises. Now we need a bunch of little ones, 10 microfarads, 16 volt. Let's grab our little container here. 10 microfarads, 16 volt. They're here, and I need 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Haven't done a good old recapping on a live stream in a while, have I? I've been doing all sorts of weird things, repairing stuff and junk. Okay, where do they go? 10, 10, 10, 10. 10. Okay, we've got one sitting over here, all on his lonesome. 10, 10. And then we've got 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Just fluxing the board there. I'm going to plonk that there. I can't see if I'm doing the right polarity because I am not looking with a microscope and I don't even have my magnifying glasses on. Well, I have them on, but I haven't got them in between my eyes and what I'm looking at. Let's get some UV light on this so we can see the glowy flux. Love the glowy flux. See the glowy flux? UV tracer, they call that. There's a little glob just there, look at it. That's actually got stuff in it that glows under UV light, and it's very handy to see where the flux has been, what sort of work has been going on. You know, I can look at this and I can just see anywhere that I've been working on because I can see the flux glowing. It's very handy. I like it. I approve. Been looking for seen a 2GS for months and haven't been able to snag one for a reasonable price, even broken. Yeah. The one that I would really like to have is a 2GS. I don't have a 2GS, and I know there are different versions of 2GS as well, but I would love to own a 2GS. When 2GSs came out, I was working, I think by that, does anyone know when the 2GS came out? I think that by the time they came out, I was actually, I was either in very late high school or I had already started working full time. And it was at a time in my life where there was just no way I could ever afford one. And I just saw them and I was just like, oh man, these things are fantastic. And I so wanted one. I probably should have got in on it earlier. I mean, can you imagine if you'd have got in at the right time? You would have been able to pick up 2GSs for an absolute steal. But, you know, benefit of hindsight, all that sort of stuff. By that stage, I'd moved into the Mac world, so really wasn't thinking about it then, but they have a wonderful nostalgic appeal. First time I saw one was in 87. Yeah, see, 86, okay. So I left school, my last year of school was 1988. And I started working in computer-related fields in 1989. So I left school and worked as a sales assistant. which seems like a strange sort of thing for me to be doing, but you know what? I recommend everyone should do some sales experience. It's, you know, like on a shop floor, talking to customers, I actually think they're really, really good skills to have. Because you use them in life and other things, you know. Just being able to sort of, talk to strangers in that way, just, how can I help you, that sort of thing. And so I did that for about, I worked in a shop for, I guess, about 3 to 6 months, something like that, probably 6 months. And then I started working at a company called the Northern Districts Education Centre, and they were providing technical support for educational software. And for that reason, they were entirely Apple. Apples, Apple IIes, and Macs. I was working on the 2Es, not the Macs. $5 says Bruce's fume extractor isn't on. Oh, it's not. It's definitely not set high enough. I know that, but I tend to run it a little bit lower when I'm doing the live streams because it's too noisy. Don't like it. That's the problem with flux, it smells too good. This one here is the ASM, and it is what they refer to as odorless. Now, it does have a smell, but it is very, very benign. I'm just looking at this trace and thinking that I probably should clean it up a little bit. Oh, you can't see it because, can you just see those little black spots here? I think I would like to just clean that up a bit before I stick a cap on it. Just because this is mine doesn't mean I have to do a half-assed job. There we go. That looks better. And I don't even need to UV mask it because there's no risk of short there. Why is my phone going off, but not my watch? How does that work? Yep. Beep, beep, beep. So it was just a question from GT, Greg Thompson from the Mac-Out Group. It is something that I could probably answer, but I won't answer because I'm in the middle of a live stream. Have I just put this on backwards? Now hello. Sorry, I'm not in a good position here because of this stupid fume extractor. There we go. I'm going to say something. I was going to just remind everyone about the old check your work. That thing that I regularly say. It's very easy to just accidentally put a cap on backwards. And it's not ideal. So you do need to check your work. Because one of the most common things that gets asked on, Facebook and whatnot, is when people say, I've got this computer and it's doing this, it's been recapped. And you kind of, one of the bits of information that if anyone is asking for help on a computer, one of the things that they should always mention is, did the computer work before it was recapped? That's one of the most important pieces of information out there. If the answer is yes, then of course the solution to the problem is obvious. Not simple, but obvious. The problem is the recapping. You've done something wrong. If it worked before and doesn't work after. Just checking to make sure, because when I nearly put one backwards, I've kind of freaked myself out a bit. That's already done. Cool, so now we're all just 47 microfarad 16s. But if the computer didn't work before recapping, and still doesn't work afterwards, there is still a whole series of things that you need to check. You've got to check and make sure that you've put all the components on correctly. You've got to check and make sure you haven't created any accidental shorts. There are all these steps you need to try and follow first, because it's not just a matter of saying, oh, you've recapped it and it still doesn't work. Oh, well, then the next thing you're going to want to do is check your whatever. Sphincter valve. It's just, it's not that simple, especially with computers of this age. Dave's here. Hello there. Why did Apple put some tantalums on this board and some electrolytics? I've often wondered that, because there are instances with, take example the Quadra 700. The Quadra 700 has tantalum capacitors in place of where they would have put electrolytic capacitors. So if you look at the way that Apple designs their boards, they're so similar. They all use the same size capacitors, these 47 microfarad 16, 10 microfarad, 1600 microfarad 6.3 and 1 microfarad 50. Essentially four caps, and you're just about covered for almost every vintage board out there with electrolytics. But then on the Quadra 700, those ones that would have normally been electrolytic are now replaced with tantalum. And same with the 2FX. There was some version of the board where they're electrolytic, some with the tantalum. I suspect it may have to do with production costs. I could be completely wrong with that, but maybe the tantalums were more expensive than the surface mount electrolytic. So, but perhaps they're more expensive to put on or something. I don't know. I really don't know, but I suspect it may have been to do with manufacturing costs. Got to remember, tantalum is quite an expensive mineral. Okay, whenever you're doing any sort of recapping, always solder the easy side first. And as you can see, I'm a bit cramped on the left here. So I'm going to solder the right-hand side first, because that's an easy one to get to. Like that. And then I don't need to worry about holding the capacitor still for the second side, where I need to get in here without melting this. Now, I am actually going to change tip. I'm going to change over to Jay's favorite tip. This is one that I use for certain jobs, and it is a bent conical tip. Now, if you're going to be using a conical tip, bent one's okay. Not a big fan of conical tips, primarily because they're a lot harder to get the heat where you want it. But this one here, I've got a nice sort of, I can come in at a side angle like that and get some heat down into there, into that little crevice there, and avoid melting the plastic of the SCSI connector. So let's get some solder onto the tip there. You can see it's not as effective getting the heat where I want it as the bevel tip I normally use is, but it is still doing the job. Now we get in there, get the heat, get the solder melted, that's attached, and we didn't melt anything. I may continue using it for this here as well. Oh, look at that, got a little bit of scunge here. What's going on? What's all that about? My 2FX has some axial caps. Yep, there are some on the 2FX, the 2 and the 2X. Oh no, it was just surface gunk. Okay, so I will keep my canonical. Apple II Plus. When I've mentioned this in my live streams before, I will mention it again. When I was a younger person growing up, I'd say probably around about 10 years of age, something like that, maybe a bit younger, probably a bit younger. I got into computers probably around about the 9, 10 sort of age group. Keeping in mind that that was at a time when people didn't have computers in their homes, really. Some people might have, but not many. It's the dawn of the personal computer industry. A friend of mine's father worked at Apple, and so he used to get to take home Apple IIe's, or Apples. And I remember the first one I used was, I think, an Apple II Plus. Pretty sure that was the first Apple I used, and that was at my friend's place. And then the next one I used after that was an Apple II Euro Plus. That was because they obviously got upgrades. And then the 2E after that. And of course I did actually get to use a Macintosh at his place as well. I don't know if it was an original 128K. I suspect it was an original 128K because it was pretty darn new at the time. Can't wait to see the board after the ultrasonic cleaner. Me neither. It probably won't be on this live stream, but I will probably do. I might do a couple of pics on my Patreon. That'd be mean, wouldn't it? You have to pay to see the pics. It's a bit mean, isn't it? I might make them public. I might make them public because I'm nice. So I may even post them on my YouTube, because I did that ultrasonic cleaning video. So I had a lot of people interested in ultrasonic cleaning. So if I do a nice before after picture and whack it on the, because there's there's that kind of, you can do posts on your YouTube channel, which I really don't do very often. Now, who can tell me whether the LC3 is a computer that, two questions. A, does it need a VRAM sim in order for you to get video? And B, does it require a battery for you to get video? Two questions on the LC3, and see if people know the answers. Did I mention in my earlier live streams we're doing a bathroom renovation? I think I may have mentioned that. The walls have linings now. Yay! And then hopefully, maybe, I think later this week, we might even get some waterproofing. Wouldn't that be nice? There we go. Now, just in case there is anyone who is saying, hey, isn't one of the caps on backwards on the LC3? Haven't you put it on the wrong way? I have mentioned this before. I basically put the cap back the same way that it was when Apple manufactured it. Whether it's right or wrong, the computer works with it that way. Nothing blows up. So I am not going to change it to the other way around. It's a cap that sits on the minus 12 volt rail, I think. But anyhow, there may be some people terribly upset by it. I keep having these pigeons coming in here going, where's the food? Well, the food is inaccessible to you now. The food is now in a plastic bin that you cannot get to. Went and got a great big plastic bin. Elamino is here. Hello there. We are looking at an LC3 at the moment. That might have been, you might have been able to figure that out from my thumbnail, because I did actually put a photo of an LC3 logic board in the thumbnail. And we have just finished recapping, and I think I feel like I've been my brain's been elsewhere while I've been doing this, so I might just check and make sure that I've got the right polarity. I'm quite confident that I've got the right caps in the right places, but I do want to check that I've got the right polarity, and I think I do. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. Well, I think we need to test this. I mean, it may well need an ultrasonic clean first, but we'll test it out anyway, because, hey, what's life without a few risks, huh? Other than risk-free. So, what did we... Okay, that there is VRAM. We've got onboard VRAM, so we shouldn't need a VRAM stick in there. Yeah, so I think LC3 has onboard VRAM. That's it there. It is definitely there. That looks like 512 Ks of VRAM. That would be my estimation. It's definitely got some onboard RAM here. That's all fine. In terms of whether it needs a battery, don't know. I'll put one in anyway, because I have one here. Is that rain? We had a little bit of rain here yesterday after quite a long dry spell. Right. Here we go. Now, I don't know if this power supply works, but we're soon going to find out. We'll plug this in. We'll see what we get. As mentioned earlier in the stream, this one was given to me as a donation. It is a donation that will actually, it will also be payment for some recapping work I'm doing for this person. This was given to me basically as a not working computer. And I have just recapped it, and we're going to see if it's now a working computer. I like to have all these things plugged in because they tell us a lot of things. For instance, if it doesn't boot but the fan comes on, then we know there's power getting through. There's no SCSI cable. Why is there no SCSI cable? Let's get a comically large SCSI cable in place. There we go. Okay, so I think we have everything in place here to at least see if it chimes, and if it chimes, we might even whack a screen on. Actually, even if it doesn't chime, I'll probably still whack a screen on, but we'll just check and see if it chimes first. Here we go. There we go. So. Oh, now, of course, if the stream suddenly stops, it's because there's some sort of short or something in the power supply, and I'll just see what I can do afterwards. I might just zoom out a little bit here. We're a bit zoomed in, aren't we? There we go. That's a little bit better. Oh no, there go the needle nose pliers. Right. We're ready. 3, 2, 1. Jesus, hard drive doesn't sound very good. This is the sound of silence. Okay, so let's see if we're getting anything to the screen, the display. Probably not, but we'll try anyway. And then, of course, the next step is to ultrasonically clean. Because we know that if there's electrolytic gunk on the board, and we know there is because we saw it, that can often be the cause of problems. So So just going to plug this in, just see if we get any sort of video signal coming out. Okay, there is the screen. And we'll switch them on. And we are getting nothing. Dead-a-rooney. Dead-skis. But we are getting a fan, which means we are getting power from the power supply. I am going to put my ear really close to the speaker to see if we get any sort of pop or something like that. But yeah, cleaning is going to be essential. We might even just give it a... Oh, actually, no, I wanted to do the before-after pic, didn't I? Oh, wow. Okay. So, getting some warmth on the CPU there. And on the big chip. The big chip. It has no label next to it. U16 other than U16. But we're getting complete silence. Complete silence, no video output. I do want to try something here, which I do sometimes. Get a keyboard, and we press the keys to do a reset. And see if we get anything happening. Because it tells us then if it's registering a reset. I'm going to pop this in. Don't ever do this, by the way. Don't connect the keyboard, hot connect the keyboard like that. It's bad. It's very bad. Okay. Now what is it? Control, Command, Power? I'm not even getting pops from the speaker. Absolutely nothing coming from the speaker whatsoever. Oftentimes, we'll just check and see if the speaker's all right. Very easy to test the speaker, by the way. We just measure the resistance across the two pins there. Now, what would we do about testing resistance? We would need a multimeter, wouldn't we? If we're on a budget, but we still want a lot of features, the best thing to do is go out and buy a Kaiweets KM601 digital multimeter. Smart multimeter even. Look at that, 18.2 degrees Celsius in here at the moment. Where would you buy one? Well, there's a link in the description. Problem solved. Okay. Let's just get our multimeter there with its lovely big screen. So easy to read and check. Okay, we're getting about 14 ohms. Now this is a 16 ohm speaker, so I don't see any issue with that speaker whatsoever. So, first thing I need to do. LC3 requires a PRAM battery. It's cool, it's got one. See, ta-da! I'll just check I put it in the right way. Yes, I did put it in the right way. And we will check that as well, because we have our Kaiweets KM601 multimeter here. So we can just quickly check the voltage of that to make sure that it is a good battery. 3.665 volts. It is a good battery. So we've got a good PRAM battery in there. Here's what we're going to do. And I apologize for this. This is a little bit outside of the live stream realm. But it is my intention to take a photo of this board before and after ultrasonically cleaning. And I haven't taken a before photo. So I need to do that. Oops. It's broke. Never mind. I think we're well past checking the SCSI drive at this stage, aren't we? I mean, we need to at least get it working first. Okay, let's do this, and we'll do that, then we'll do this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that. I will check both voltages on the power supply. I didn't do that. I mean, we know the fan's working, and that is a 12 volt. So at least we know the 12 volt's working. Getting heat to the CPU means that probably the 5 volt's working as well, but good to know that the power supply does seem to be working. That's one less thing, as they say. Why aren't you moving? There we go. Okay, so quickly got to take my before photo. Get in there, you thing. Here we go. So, good. Just going to take ourselves a nice pretty photo for the social media things, so that people know that I'm an active social media person. What do we call influencer, or is that the word? Content creator. Well done, Dave. Thank you very much, Dave, for buying a Kai Wheats KM601 multimeter from my links. I do appreciate that. Okay, so let's take a photo. Click. 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 I'll take a few because I didn't get to pick the best one. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, this is a tricky one, this is. I'm going to get some of this stuff here and go squirt, squirt. I mean, this is possibly futile, but I just figured I'll just give a bit of a clean around the sound chip. Okay, that'll do just for a, just an initial clean. It's not a proper clean. But it might be enough to just dislodge a little bit of electrolyte. It's not meant to be there. Okay, that's dry enough. Dry enough for me. Okay. Ah. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah, yeah. We're getting a lot less fussy about what gets plugged in this time. All right. We have speaker. We need... Where did I put the battery? Did anyone see where I put the battery? Oh, I'll grab another one. All right. So... Now, of course, if this still doesn't work, the next step is it's going to go in the ultrasonic cleaner. We won't get any sort of satisfying chimes in this live stream. It does happen sometimes. But, you know. Okay, so switching them on and tap, tap, ta-da! Just shows you the power of electrolyte leaking all over the board, doesn't it? Here's all that. Okay, what do we got? We need to boot it, don't we? This is just the standard RAM in it. I haven't got the extra SIM in there. Let's see if we can find... here we are. A nice little SCSI device. I might put the extra RAM in it. May as well. I'll switch him off. In goes our RAM. Connect up a SCSI. Connect up a keyboard. The fact that I wasn't even getting a pop from the speaker was one of the reasons that led me to doing that cleaning around the sound chip. And also it wasn't registering a reset. And the reset goes through the sound chip as well. So that was why I cleaned that area. I didn't just say, hey, I'm just going to clean indiscriminately. Woo! Doesn't like the RAM. I'm just going to try and relodge it. I've got quite a few of these, so I'm not overly concerned. I've got a whole bunch of 8s. I think I might even have some 16s, so. Just wasn't seated properly. Now we're doing a RAM test, and now we're going to get a little bit of screen happening. And we're getting some flicker on the SCSI, which is always nice. And I dare say, if I move my mouse around, I might even be able to move the cursor. Yes, I can. Oops. Welcome to Macintosh. Okay, here we go. So let's just have a look and see what we have here. I'm pretty sure that's an 8 megabyte sim, so that will be, oh, well, it's a total of 8, so I guess not. How much does it have on board? Does anyone remember how much is on board? Is it 4? So then I've got a 4. So I've added 4 and 4 to get 8. I'm guessing that's the case. Shall we do a snoop? Let's do a snoop. I've got my little testing thingies here for testing the snooper. What do you call that? The serial ports. Because goodness knows, serial ports are important on these old Macs. Need them for your printing. Need them for your network. Okay, so they're connected. And now let's run Snooper. I totally appreciate it would be much better if I had the ability to do like a screen capture type thing on the live stream with this, but my what do you call it? My scaler thing. Two problems with it. First of all, it's being used up in the house, and second of all, it doesn't do a very good job of these pictures coming from these old computers. So let's go to logic tests. It doesn't know what it is. It has no idea what computer this is. We've confused it. Unsupported machine. It knows it's an LC3, but it must predate. I mean, this software must predate it. So, oh, I haven't put an FPU in. Now, it won't let me do the printer port because I've got AppleTalk switched on. So let's do that. Let's put an FPU in it, because come on. Chooser. And AppleTalk inactive. Okay. And shut down. Now I just got to find my FPU, so just bear with me a minute. 4 megabyte on board. Thank you very much for doing that checking. You know, I do actually have all this information in my job ticketing system. All I have to do is load it up in the background, and it's all there. And I could, of course, load Mac Tracker on the phone, but no. Why do that when I can just ask you guys? Okay, I need to find one of my miscellaneous containers. No. Is that it? That might be it. No, that's in the wrong place. Nope. 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 So it's up here. It's one of the other miscellaneous. Looking. Cool. What time is it? I got a 2 o'clock. Holy crap! I had a 2 o'clock meeting. Okay. Let's grab the FPU. Let's drop it in. do a quick little thingy, and then let's see if I can get this meeting pushed a little later. It's amazing the way time flies when you're live streaming. Here's my little FPU in a PLCC package. And that's pin 1 there. Now, as I said before, some of these FPUs I got have been bad, some of them have been good. So we'll know whether it's good or bad based on when I switch it on. Chimed, that's a good sign. Yeah, I'm already late for this meeting, and I'm not at the computer to answer my emails or anything. Still, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It was supposed to be done now. The meeting was supposed to be 11, and then it got pushed to 11:30, and then it got pushed to 11:45, and then it got pushed to 2. And you know, come on. All right. Oh, fudge. Snooper duper, let's gonna find you. There we go. Get some snooper happening. And logic tests. Logic tests. That'll test your logic. There we go. Okay, so now I've got the option for FPU, and printer port is there as well. So let's do a start cycle. Now it will do the RAM test first. Hopefully they won't take too long. It's only 8 megs. The LC3 has a pretty high limit. I mean, you're limited by how much RAM you can put in it because it's only got 1 RAM slot. But you can actually, I think you can get 128 meg SIMs that'll go in this. It'll take it up to 132 megs. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can stick a single 128 megabyte SIM in these. Testing with pattern 0000. Test pass. Whee. Testing PRAM. Important to test PRAM. Have no compute. Sure, should be fine. See, that's the advantage of working from home, isn't it? You can say, you know what, I'm going to stay up and watch one more episode of this TV show I've been binging. You know, just one more episode. Just one more glass of white wine. Yeah. I need a newer version of Snooper. Yes, I do. Page I'm looking at, it says the LC3 is limited to 36 megabytes. Now, that being a 32, I am pretty sure someone managed to get more into an LC3, but I could be wrong. They had to use a particular type of RAM SIM, but I'd need to look it up. Okay, SCSI bus protocol. Okay, and then we'll check the printer port. Test, handshake test passed. 300 board test passed. 2400, 9600. Okay, so that's the printer port is good. The modem port passed. Yay! So that's the printer port works as well. Now we're going to test the CPU 68030. Apple desktop bus, and then FPU. Here we go. Yeah, let's test the FPU. 10110. That's so stupid. It shows a little icon for testing the FPU. It says 5 plus 23. You don't need an FPU to add up 5 plus 23. You do for 0.5 plus 0.23. Okay, well, it started this cycle again, so we can stop this now. Okay, so it passed all those tests. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about that. So I now have an LC3 in my collection. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about that. Bit of a snap on the case there, but as I said, I've got some other case pieces I can probably put a different lid on if I want. So switch him off, unplug the keyboards, put it somewhere I don't trip over it, and switch this off, off, off. Unplug this and this, put him up there, put him here, and then we will begin the farewells. How long have I been going for? I've been going for 2 hours and 11 minutes. That's not too bad considering I wasn't even going to stream at all. So I'm reasonably happy with that. So just a reminder to those people who are watching to please
Smash that like button.
much appreciated. To anyone who has smashed the like button, thank you very much. Thank you for for keeping me company. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the super chats. Just a reminder that I do now have a Patreon if you feel compelled. No pressure, but if you feel compelled, please visit that. Consider subscribing, paying a little fee, and you get some behind-the-scenes exclusive stuff. So as I said, I am going to be ultrasonicking this board. I will then put the before and after shots probably up on one of the public posts on the YouTube channel. So just look out for that one. I know it's pretty late there on a Sunday for a lot of you guys. So once again, thank you very much for giving up your time to spend it with me. And I do hope to see you at the next one. So thank you to all, and bye.